safety is our number one core value. Mm-hmm. So our job is to send everybody home every day the same way we got them to work, right? And if we don't do that, we failed. And I will tell you right now, Cemex will lose money every day. We will lose money in order to keep people safe. That's the best way to put it.
Folks, the two guys that we're talking to, I've got David, I've got Chris here from Cemex. This is an absolute, well, it's been a lesson for me right now because I'm learning everything about concrete. And I'm looking forward to hopefully you all learning a little bit too from these gentlemen. Guys, Cemex, can you just kind of give us an idea? Because every one of us have seen these trucks on the road. Tell us a little history of the company, and then I want to dive into everything people don't know about concrete here today, man. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Chris.
Well, Cemex started in Monterrey, Mexico in 1906, and right now we are the largest material supplier in the world for what we offer. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people will ask you, what do you do? And I tell them, I sell the second most consumed product on the planet, and that perplexes them, and they often guess water, and I tell them concrete. And when you look around, concrete's everywhere. But if you're looking for a lot more depth of history, I defer to, we call him Schultz. I defer to Schultz on that.
What do you think, David? Talk to me.
Yeah, I mean, I can give you history, but I mean, the company started growing heavily back in the early '90s. Like they were huge in Mexico for a long, long time, right? But we started our acquisition strategy back in the early '90s, and through the 2000s, we grew like a weed. And then we acquired Rinker Materials in 2007, and that was one of our last biggest acquisitions. Since then, we've been trying to maintain our portfolio, doing the best we can, especially through that downturn that we had back in 08, 9, 10. Mm-hmm. And now we're back in growth mode again. So the company is doing its best to grow both organically and through acquisition. And we're going to do that in the places that we think we can get the best bang for our buck, and that's going to be Europe, and it's going to be Mexico, it's going to be the United States.
I want to talk about these big projects you got going on. I'm excited about this. Give me a rundown of what's going on with Cemex, some of these cool projects that are locally going on in Florida or beyond. What do you got going on?
Well, the one that we're, just most recently wrapping up on is Universal Epic, the new.
I'm very familiar.
Yep.
So my girlfriend is doing the underground utilities over there.
Okay.
Of all things. So Florida Land Corp, shout out to you.
There you go.
Yeah, I think the coolest project, that I heard about, and this one's right outside of your market.
Oh, SpaceX.
But the SpaceX. Yeah. So we are setting up we're setting up a portable up there, aren't we?
We got a portable over in Titusville.
Yeah. So we're setting up a new plant that to be able to keep up with the demand.
Mm-hmm.
But we're getting ready to start the drill shaft. I believe is what the foundation is going to be over there.
Yeah, I have a picture of it. I have to ask my client because it's NASA. Maybe Elon will send me out to space on that one. But I can describe it. It's a huge box that is super deep. And it's just going to be filled with rebar and concrete to absorb all that.
What is
blast.
Super deep? Is that like 50 feet or like thousands of feet? I mean,
it's
it's
deeper
public.
than just a little.
Yeah,
it's deeper than not deep.
You can look up. There's information on Gigabay.
There.
It's like 1 point something million.
It's
Gigabay.
It's beyond 20 feet deep. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
that's where
they're going to build Starship. Yeah.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah, it'll tell you. It's like it's going to be.
There you go, right there. Heavy vehicles up to
380 feet tall and 46.5 million cubic feet.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of concrete.
Yeah, so it's wild.
Concrete's all around us. We're sitting on it right now. It's above us. It's everywhere that we're dealing with. It's, the second most consumed product, as you said, in the world behind water. And what that gets me thinking about is how much we really take it for granted what a company like Cemex does. Mm-hmm. The operation that you have. I think about driving down the road and it's midnight and you see your trucks on the side of the interstate. Yep. This is the kind of stuff I think people take for granted, and I'm so happy I get a chance to talk to you all because this company right here, you're really keeping the country moving. You're trying to.
Yeah.
But I want to talk to you about that because let's take Florida, for instance, right now. Is there an unlimited supply of concrete? And if there's not, how is Cemex doing? What is Cemex doing to make sure that we can keep on building in the state of Florida? We can keep on building in the Southeast across America. Yeah. Are you all preparing yourselves for this?
Yeah, so I would tell you that it's not just us preparing. Okay. The state of Florida is even doing it, right? I mean, so they came out with the updated version of the Florida Strategic Aggregates report last year. And so you think about from the rock we use and dig out of the ground, that report noted that between rock, sand, and all the other crushed stone that we pulled out of the ground, it was over 190 million tons we use in the state of Florida per year, which is a heck of a lot, right? And divide that by the 23, 24 million people.
Wow,
it's a lot per person, right?
Wow.
You think about I don't even know what the number is, 11, 12 tons per person, something like that. It's a lot. So
that really puts it in perspective.
Right. And then if you go down and look through that report, it gives you all this information about, half of that stone is going into, say, 130 million of that is actual crushed stone and not sand. Half of that stone's going into our highways and streets. Mm-hmm. So it's used for road building, bridges, and everything else falls below that. Well, we have, an issue coming up here in the state, and it tells you in that report there is only so many reserves of DOT rock in the state of Florida. When I say that, the Department of Transportation will use. And it's a harder stone, and it comes out of what's called the Miami Lake Belt region. Okay. There's a bunch of companies that have mines down there, but we are on the precipice of running out of rock in the next 25, 30, 40 years, right? So we're not going to be able to move west because we're not mining Everglades National Park, right? It's just not going to happen. And then the other stones that we have around the state, there are still pockets, right? But they're going to be limited for what the Department of Transportation needs, okay? Got it. So there's still plenty of stone that I can build a house with. I can make a lower PSI concrete that the DOT doesn't need, right?
Sure.
So I can build a house slab with that. I can make block. I can do a lot of that. But when it comes to the stones that you need to actually build, we're going to have a deficit of between 25 and 50 million tons over the next X number of years. So you're seeing people prepare our competitors, the Vulcans, the Martin Mariettas, you name them, Blue Waters. They're buying rock mines all over the Southeast, just like we are searching for places to bring stuff in, whether by rail or by port. Mm-hmm. So last year we made an investment, 24 months ago we made an investment into a mine in Newfoundland, in Lower Cove, Newfoundland, and it gives us enough reserves that we have permitted right now for about 100 years of DOT concrete that we would need here in the state of Florida. Right. Our problem is not getting the rock out of there. It's how do you get it here, right?
Newfoundland's not exactly down the street.
Right. So, it discusses in that report the need for new rail, new terminals, new ports. All the things that you're going to need because, it's not just us preparing. Other folks are preparing too. And so right now, when you look at the actual aggregates coming into the state, about 7 million last year was brought in by ship, and the rest of it was brought in through Florida, and then about 30 million was brought in through rail. So you got a bunch of stuff coming from Alabama and Georgia. I'd say around 30 million of that. And then you've got the sand that we're using, which is probably, I don't know that number off the top of my head. I'm gonna take a guess of 60 million tons of sand, somewhere in there, right? But it's a lot of materials, right? Yeah. And so to think about the logistics, and if I showed you what our logistics footprint was here in the state of Florida alone, we're the largest customer of FEC going up the East Coast Railroad, right? And then between us and several other people, we're hauling, we're hauling stuff up CSX lines. We're getting, you think about it. I've got unit trains running every day out of Miami, 100 cars from Miami, stopping in City Point, which is Cape Canaveral, and then going up to Bay Meadows, Florida, and dropping off there. And in between there, I have God knows how many stops that I'm putting cars. So, the rail network is hugely important to moving aggregates around the state because if you take a mine and draw a circle around it, there's only so many miles I can go outside that mine by truck and keep it somewhat reasonably priced because my trucking costs go up.
Yeah.
And so, our problem moving forward and how do we fix this over the next generation, because I'll be retired by the time it breaks, but I don't want to hand this off to somebody else when it's broken, right? Yeah. So, but at least the state of Florida is looking at it, right? They know it's a problem, and we just got to figure out how to add enough money into this state to improve the rail lines, improve the ports, and make sure we can bring in what we need when we run out.
And I was thinking about a little bit of that on my drive here today. Is think about all the rides that rock takes to get to your house slab.
Mm-hmm.
It was mined out of a quarry, right? Then loaded in out of our dozer, and then it'll ride in. And these are all our part of our fleets that we have. So it may ride on a ship, and then it'll be offloaded onto train cars, which are ours with locomotives, that moves it all around, and then it'll be loaded into a tractor trailer, and then it'll be handled again by another loader at a plant. Then the final ride is going to be in that ready mix truck that people see driving down the road. Then it gets dumped off. So if you think about how far those rocks go, or that one rock,
thousands of miles.
yeah,
It's not just that. Think about the asset intensity of our business, right? So how much money does it cost for us to get that load of concrete to you?
Yeah.
And I had a guy tell me one time, he goes, it's funny the way he put it. He goes, I'm going to spend $1 billion on a cement plant, right? And then I'm going to take and put $100 million on several mines that I'm going to need so much rock for, because I'm going to need, reserves to feed that cement plant. I'm also going to need rock in order to put it in ready-mix concrete, and the sand I'm going to need there. Then I'm going to go build a ready-mix plant over here. I'm going to spend $5 million on that for a ready-mix plant and 10 trucks. And so, I'm $1.5 billion into this already. And then I'm going to sell it to you for the lowest price possible, because there's
right.
a guy down here that set up a plant and trucks that can do it if somebody else sells them the product cheaply. Yeah. So the fact that we keep the product as cheap as we do is rather amazing. Right?
It is. What you're telling me right now, I'm just thinking to myself, why is it so darn cheap? What you just told me seems to make sense, is that the competition itself, maybe between the big four, somewhere around in there,
right.
that is what keeps this product affordable for Americans. And, yeah, I mean, to be able to build the buildings, build the roads, everything that we rely on in our day-to-day life.
Well, yeah, it's an asset-intense business with a very low margin. Right.
Yeah.
And so you just got to make sure a lot of people live by volume. I mean, the more volume you put out, the more money you make. I mean, so maybe I don't know. Maybe we're the Walmart of concrete. Maybe that's what the state of Florida is.
We're the super Walmart of concrete.
Okay, so let's stay on that, because there might be a tendency for somebody who's viewing or listening to think to themselves, okay, well, if they're doing that, then this is going to be, maybe you're cutting corners somewhere. Let's say in safety, you're cutting corners somewhere to keep prices low. Now, Chris, I know me and you know each other or were introduced through Construction Angels, a group that is helping to keep the industry safe. Behind closed doors, Cemex, is it a company that is concerned about safety? Because when I think about low prices, I also think about, quality. I think about safety. Mm-hmm. How does Cemex addressing this now to make sure the prices stay low, but also the people that are making these rail car trips, the people that are in these quarries, the people that are doing the work are actually safe, and it's still affordable for Americans and for Floridians?
Safety is our number one core value.
Mm-hmm.
So our job is to send everybody home every day the same way we got them to work, right? And if we don't do that, we failed. And I will tell you right now, Cemex will lose money every day if we don't. We will lose money in order to keep people safe. That's the best way to put it. Our goal, it's literally our motto, is called Zero for Life. We want 0 incidents for life. And
It's a lofty goal.
it's a lofty goal, but it's attainable.
That's right.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's attainable.
There are two things that come to my mind real quick. I work a lot with roofing contractors. Mm-hmm. We saw some as we were coming in today. And not those particular individuals, but, roping off on top of a roof. Everyone knows you should do it.
Yeah, absolutely should do it.
But you see people that cheat themselves out of it. And there's not a week that goes by, a month that goes by that somebody doesn't pass away falling off of a roof.
Right.
And it's just like the companies that commit to doing it, that you have to get roped off, that you have to do these things, 3 points of contact. Those are the companies that, in my opinion, they could hit a 0. You can achieve this goal, and it's something worth going after.
Absolutely it is.
Right there. And it also reminds me of, I was at a Middlesex. Mm-hmm. I was there, what was this? Maybe about 3 or 4 months ago.
Yep.
All right. And I was there with Christy from Construction Angels and was getting a check from them. They were nice enough to give to Construction Angels, okay? And when we arrived, I couldn't regularly park. Everybody had to back in.
That's correct.
And
we did it right here in
It's
your
called
parking lot.
first motion forward, because most of your incidents are coming from backing up.
And so what it reminds me of what you're talking about is just drilled into your mind the safety factor of what you do every single day.
Yep.
And now when I'm parking my truck, I'm thinking about that after I went to Middlesex. Right. Now I'm talking with you gentlemen about every single little decisions that you make throughout the day, how much those can impact the safety, especially when you're dealing with something like concrete.
Yep.
It's not exactly forgiving on the body when you make a mistake with it.
Right.
And so I think that's a beautiful commitment to make, what you're talking about, that commitment to zero right there.
Yeah,
I go ahead.
I would just simply tell you that, a lot of our folks come in and they do not like our safety program, right? Because it's harsh, right? If you're getting out at 95 degrees in the middle of summertime, you're in your vest, your boots, your jeans, your gloves, your hard hat, your safety goggles, right? And then the guys that are pouring concrete, they got to wear a safety shield as well. It is a commitment you have to make sure that you are going out there and coming home every day. But we start to find out from the guys that really, really get it, that really buy into our culture, is how do they act at home, right? When the guy goes home and mows his lawn, is he willing to put the glasses on and wear steel toes, right? And I'm not telling him he's got to every time, but I'm simply asking, how did you put up your Christmas lights this year? When you pat the ladder up, were you reaching out past that 2-foot mark? The things you would do at home are just as important as the things you do at work. And right, we're hoping that we can get that message back to their families as well, because it's not just our employees. I don't want their families hurt either, right?
Yep.
We're all family. And so, and by the way, if you don't come to work the next day because you're hurt, not only do I not have the worker to help me out, the employee that we have, it's expensive, right? And it's just what it is. So it's costly. And so when you make an investment into safety, it really pays off.
I can give you a shining example of an investment in safety that we made. We have a plant over on the east side of Orange County. And if you're coming from the south going north, the plant is on the west side of the road, and it's 4 lanes of traffic, and there's a turn that you can make. You can get in that and then just do a U-turn, and then you're right into the plant. Well, years ago, there was a little accident there. Nobody was hurt, but there was an accident there. Now, no more U-turns. So that's an investment in safety. We spend more money having a new route so we can avoid. I think I heard years ago that UPS or FedEx only makes right turns. I see them taking left turns now. But
it's true. They're
right.
heuristics as well. The way they did it. That was their mapping
program.
So
that's how we mapped it to get back to the plant, and that takes longer, costs more money. You can drill down on it far. Tires are getting a little more wear. All the things that go in that. But it's a small price to pay to get to what we want.
Last thing I'm going to say about safety. You ever heard of a guy named Paul O'Neill?
No, help me out. Paul O'Neill?
Yeah, so Paul O'Neill was the CEO of Alcoa.
That's your Jamie.
No, that's not him.
That's your Jamie from
Alcoa.
Type Alcoa. There it is. Right
there it is. First one there.
So when Paul O'Neill became the CEO of Alcoa, and I believe this was in 1987, 88, whatever it was.
Okay.
Maybe it was the early 90s. He walks on stage, and he's kind of one of the stories that kind of moved a lot of industries towards heavy in safety. So he walks on stage for his first interview at where he was in Wall Street, right? Yeah. And he gets on stage and he basically says, I want you to know that the first thing Alcoa is going to concentrate on is safety. And everybody raises their hands. Well, how are you going to fix the aviation industry? And how are you going to fix this part of our business? Maybe you didn't hear me, but safety is going to be our number one priority at Alcoa. And everybody went out and picked up the phone, dialed on the payphones at that point in time, and basically the stock tanks, because this guy's going to not concentrate on the business. But what happened was he went out and concentrated on safety. And what happened is everybody got behind him, because if you can get people on a team and a goal and they understand their why, that they are there that day, businesses move forward, right? Yeah. He took that company from what? You'd have to look up the numbers, but they were like a $2 billion business that first year he was in there, to over $20 billion by the time he left. Not bad, right? and you'd have to go in and look at the actual numbers, but it was a ridiculous growth over that time. That's right. But that he gave them their why, and it worked, right? And not only that, he was sending these people home safe. So
I think when you focus on safety, you almost effortlessly focus on the employee, because you have to focus on the safety.
It's a moral obligation, right? I mean, it's the right thing to do.
If you don't mind, I wouldn't mind just briefly talking about this.
Let's talk about.
So we have a month out of the year, and I think it was February. It was February. It's called Women in Construction Month.
Oh yeah.
So for about two It's pretty neat. I think it's neat. For about 2 years, a friend of mine, I get it's interesting. I get quite a few of my competitors. Those are my customers. They all get along. There's enough work for everybody, and they can play in the same sandbox together. Right?
That's good.
It's neat. I like that. So we decided we want to do. We talked about it for like 2 years. Barstool talk. Like, man, we just need to do something on our own for the girls and women in construction. So I said, man, we're at Wally's. I'm like, dude, I'm so tired of talking about this. We're doing it now. So I got 9 different companies. I got Cemex, DeWalt, Sunbelt, Balfour Beatty, PCL, Nassau. God, I don't want to leave. I'm gonna leave him out. Turner, and so we got 9 different companies, and then I took it to Winter Park 9. And Balfour Beatty's team made this beautiful, their design team made this, graphic design team made this beautiful flyer that I emailed out. So each company that sponsored, they each got 4 ladies to come out. And we went out to the Winter Park 9. I had a band there for them for when we were done. I said, look, if you guys don't want to play golf, just go walk through. It's Winter Park. It's beautiful. Just take a putter, go putt. So we had a catered event. We had... And all this was split, the cost. We just took the hard cost. There was no extra money left over. We had a hard cost, and we divided that number, and we spread it through the 9 different companies and did something organic. And then I brought 2 ladies up to give an elevator speech. And I did not know, but both of these ladies have a master's degree in construction. As I was listening to them, I was like, wow, I like you even more now. So because... as we were talking earlier, the passion. So they got to talk about where they were and where they got, because there's a lot of ladies in the audience that were back where they were, and then now they can see I can get to that spot. So I'm pretty proud of that work. And everybody was real excited about it. So I didn't do it on my own. I'd help we had a little committee of it, but it was a good event. And then they all reached out and they want to do something like a bowling event. So I really messed up and did too good of a job. Yeah. They want to do something else, but we're going to do that every year.
I want to say this, that's probably the one good idea that has come out of Wally's.
A lot of bad things there. Yeah, I agree. I had to balance my decision making at Wally's.
Yeah, it's a story of my life when I've been to that place is balancing my decision making. I'll tell you,
which always goes bad.
Yeah, I was like, man, I can't believe something really great came out of this. Yeah. That's awesome.
You
man.
Talk about
good
overpaying, man. They must overpay for their mixers because they barely give you any mixer in their drinks, and it's like
they're known for it, man. That's what they're known. Shout out to Wally's.
That's right. There. That's right.
Does your business need content that people are actually going to pay attention to? Does it seem like every video that you create is just more noise? Then you got to work with the right company. And I suggest heading over to bluecollarmediagroup.com. That's my business, and we work with small businesses every single day to produce commercials, ads, testimonials, documentaries, the stuff that people are actually going to pay attention to, and the stuff that's going to get you more customers. So if you're ready to step up your content game, then work with professionals like thousands have before you at Blue Collar Media Group. We'll look forward to working with you soon. But for now, let's get back to that show.
It's beautiful what you all are doing, women in construction, but then as well, construction angels.
Yes.
Yeah.
You are one of the most, and I want to say this, well-respected people in the country that is doing this. You are. Christy Gibbs says amazing things about you. You are active in construction angels. For people who watch this show, they know I've talked about it regularly, giving to families of fallen construction workers. But you are putting together stuff constantly, it seems like. You're always involved. You're passionate.
Unfortunately, we like I said earlier, I've been involved with them for 10 years because I believe in what they do. And I've heard about accidents, and I've seen what they've done. It's tough to put yourself in a position where you come home from your day. Like Schultz said, we want everybody to go home safe. Then you come home to that news, it's the least somebody can do. So it's a great event, and the money that we raise really does go to something good. And I hope they just keep the money. They don't have to give it out anymore. But unfortunately, that's not the way the world works.
Yeah, it's not. What do you want to say something there, Dan? About?
No, I was just simply gonna, Chris is, with what he's talking about, the fishing tournaments coming up.
Yeah. And
we've got spots that are open, and
that's right.
Love to get his fishing tournament filled up so we can help raise more money for that industry or for that organization.
We got
You
an
guys
ad
did
coming
a
out for
you
that.
guys did a nice promo for
I
us.
appreciate it. Yeah, thanks. I don't think that individuals realize the need across the country for an organization like Construction Angels. The statistics are incredible. It's something you're going to know this better than. Is it 4 times a day on average, or is it 4 times a week?
I don't know.
That someone passes away on a job site. The numbers are staggering, and the fact that we need Construction Angels to be able to help those families, because like you say, they get up in the morning, dad or mom goes to work, and they come home and their whole life is different. It's completely turned upside down, and if you're not in this industry, you never think about it happening. The roofing accident, the concrete accident, the manufacturing accident that happens, but it's oftentimes preventable.
Yep.
And that's the saddest part of it all, is that many times it is preventable.
The majority are preventable.
Yeah.
That's right.
But luckily, Construction Angels, it's not a pretty thing, but they're there to give to those families grief counseling, cash, money, make rent. Give yourself some time to grieve as a family. Right. That's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Add on to that the suicide rate of construction workers,
Yeah.
plus the drug overdoses, and I don't know those stats either.
Yeah.
Ooh,
But I know they're high.
I wonder if they would calculate that, because
These numbers are absolutely shocking. Well, we're looking at this in the construction industry. 6,000 workers died from suicide in 2022.
What is that? 5 times more than the
Yes.
accidents? Yeah.
well, that I would say I would
It
have to
says
say,
about 1,000 who died from
yeah.
construction work. I mean,
and that's in
6
2022. That's 3
5
years ago.
6 times more. I mean, I don't have enough brain capacity right now to think about why that is, but I mean, a couple of things that I can think about right now is I think we live in a world where the blue collar worker sometimes feels like he's less
Valuable.
yeah. And
Well,
that's got to be that's terrible that somebody feels that way.
And coupled with that, you just don't know what people are going through, and you hear that said a lot. You don't know what people's battles are, what they're struggling with.
Right.
So I'll end by saying this, and John has heard me say this maybe 100 times. I believe the most profound prayer that you can have for somebody is that they win the battle today they tell nobody about.
Yeah.
And it's something I've lived by. Be kind to people, because you don't know what their vice they're struggling with. We all have something.
Right.
When I say that, I always tell people that there's an immediate thing that pops into your head that you're struggling with, and we all have one.
Right.
And I just pray that somebody wins that battle today, not tomorrow, just today. We just got to focus on today. They tell nobody about. So, like you just said, they don't become a statistic like that.
Yeah.
But do you all ever just drive down the road and you're going like, yep, how to part in that? Because I do that with my clients. I'll see like a truck going down.
We do it
there.
every day.
Like, yeah, I mean, that's my client right there.
Absolutely.
That's pretty cool, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you had a part in building probably an enormous amount, which is in the city of Orlando alone. Not to mention across the country with the big projects that Cemex is doing.
No, yeah.
I mean, that's awesome, man.
Just I-4 Ultimate, every day you get on it, you're like, my God, we did the majority of all the concrete and the stone and everything that's in there.
That's right.
So I get to drive on it every day, right? I mean, so yeah, it's absolutely awesome.
Did you ever hear of Holy Land?
Of course, if you ripped it down, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was there when the last wall went down, and that's where I went in and developed a relationship there. The last wall went down, and we did an Advent Health ER. It's called an offsite emergency room, which has plans for a tower and a parking garage and a medical office building. And that's a tilt structure, so they'll pour the slabs on the ground. They'll pour the base, the slab, and then they put what's called casting beds around, and they lay it out. And then they bring a crane and they stand them up and just.
I've always seen that.
It's amazing.
And then they got the things that are holding them up
Yeah,
like
that's
this.
right.
They had that building that's a big glass building that kind of went up on the side of I-4 around like the Maitland area, and they were doing that for it seemed like weeks.
Yeah. That's called tilt wall.
Yeah, I mean that looks incredible to me.
So I drive down. When I drive down I-4, there's never a time that I don't look at that and just proud of that. It's amazing.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it really is.
You did a great job with those guys.
I appreciate that. I think you came over there and ate a chicken sandwich.
I did come eat a chicken sandwich.
Another time I cooked for some people.
And by the way, it was delicious. I want you to know that.
I know, you ate like 4 of them.
I got a couple questions left for you guys, all right? Because I want to talk about this because it seems just talking to you, I get a little fired up talking about those projects, and you as well. I can see you take a lot of pride in this.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with Cemex. I just got to know from you, gentlemen, is that something that's missing? You think a lot from people in the work that they're doing these days? because we go out across the country and we work with contractors every day. My group does.
Right.
I see some that, man, they're passionate. Other people, it's just a paycheck.
They're
And
going
when
through the
can I
motions,
get the
right.
heck out of here?
Yeah.
I'm just interested, when you look around Cemex right now,
Mm-hmm.
do you see a level of passion? Do you see a level of care, a level of purpose, if you want to look at it that way? Because it seems like you two gentlemen have that.
I can speak to that real quick, and I'll let Schultz take over because he used to run our operation, then got selfish and took a bigger job and left to start
darn
with
people
us.
do that.
But we're glad that he's still here in Orlando with us. But the passion, this is a pretty neat story about passion. We have that same plant that I was telling you about that we're doing the right turns now to get in. It's called East Orlando. So we have our batch man there. He runs the plant, right? So as he drives to work, he drove by and saw this project going on, the one that I spoke of about the big Advent Health campus with the hotel and everything in there. And he's calling me up, hey man, do you see this? You see this? I said, man, I'm working on it. I'm trying to get that job. And I get the job. And him and every one of those drivers are so proud whenever they're there, like today, this morning, 3 a.m., I'm out there thanking people, helping them, backing them up, doing everything I can. And so I'm not trying to talk about me, but for these drivers and for that batch man to say, man, I saw that blue fence go up. And I knew something was coming, and we want on it because they want to work. They want their paychecks, right? So then whenever they drive home or they drive by, they're looking at, they're like, hey, honey, their daughter or whomever, daddy or mommy's working on that. So it's pretty neat.
It's gorgeous. I love
Pretty
that,
neat
man.
to see.
I love that.
Yeah.
I would simply say this, I normally, what I see, and this is across the country, is you're going to have about 90% of the people that you have are, once they get involved, they really care, right? There's always going to be 10% that are going to be negative. They're just going to come in and punch a clock, and they may poison the rest, right? The goal of the leadership of the company is to make sure you find that 10% and replace them immediately, right?
Right.
Because if you find somebody that you put in a leadership position or even leave them in a position where they can poison the rest of the team, everybody goes downhill from a morale standpoint, right? So, but that's just not our company. That's every company, right? And so,
See, I look at it the same way. That I tell my team this. I'll give you an example. John knows this. I have a standard here: 8 o'clock, not 8:01, not 8:02, 8 o'clock. I don't veer from it. Be here at 8 o'clock.
right.
It's a standard. Now, some people have said to you, Patrick, that's ridiculous. Heck, my own girlfriend's like, you should make it, give them a 5-minute leeway, stuff like that. I've offered that and said you can come in at 7:55, and I'll give you a 5-minute leeway. We're going to make it 8 o'clock, okay? And so my point of this is to say that as a company, if you're going to be great at doing something, you want to make sure that you've got people that are passionate about it. And that means that it's not going to be for everyone.
Right.
Like if you've got standards there at Cemex, which it sounds like you do, then we're not for you.
Right.
Because you're not going to fit in with this culture right here. You may not get up at 3 o'clock, be willing to do those things. You may not have the guy who's calling you and he wants to, hey, are we going to get that job? Those people are rare, but if you're going to have a rare company, you got to find people like that, that want to be a part of a culture like that. It sounds like you all are doing it well.
We're trying, right? We have a pretty good, we bring in, management trainees every year out of college, right? We have a group of 50 to 60 we bring into the country every year, or into the U.S. every year team. Those people go through, and it's the talent development program is what it's called. That group will go through 1 year of getting paid a salary, and they will work in just about every position that's within that specific business.
Got it.
And so after they're done with that, we figure out where they fit, right? And then when you give those people an opportunity to learn where they fit and what they want to do, it's kind of a cool situation. So you see a lot of our leadership within this company comes through that TDP program. In fact, we've got several executive vice presidents currently that started that within that 25, 30 years ago that are still here.
Wow.
So, we take pride. We are lucky enough that we work at such a hectic pace in the ready mix business, right? It's easy to wash people out because the guy that doesn't answer his phone or get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, they're gone. It's just what it is.
Right.
So, I mean, it's easy to wash them out of there. In a situation like yours, maybe not as easy to find, but, I don't know how small or big your team is, right?
14.
14. Okay. Yeah. So you've got eyes on most of that.
Most
right?
of it.
Yeah, exactly. If I've got 300 in the city of Orlando, I can't pick out every one of those bad eggs. It's hard to do. So yeah, you got to have a good team who wants to go forward, who wants to make the right decisions, and I think we got it.
Yeah.
And sound leadership.
I told the people this the other day that the real, I guess I have this theory that people don't change over time. You don't see somebody for 2 years and they're like, man, that guy really changed a lot over time. No, you make small choices as a group, our company, as a person. You make these small choices throughout your day.
Right.
And that right there leads to changes over time. But it's really in these little individual choices as a team that we make.
Right.
Are we going to step foot on that roof even though we know we shouldn't be up there to get a shot? No.
Safety choice.
Get a drone.
Right.
Are we going to put the ladder up and put it right against the gutter? No. Not a good idea, even though it's easier, because we're not going to do that to a homeowner because we want to get that shot.
Right.
These are little choices that we can make that set us apart as professionals, other media companies that are out there. But those little things add up.
Right.
You never know when that little thing, as you said, that 4-foot ladder we're talking about that he's off the ground, could end up being a bigger thing.
Right.
And I really believe that. I want to end by asking you all this question. The biggest challenge facing your industry right now and how Cemex is handling that. You talked about not having, we're having Newfoundland. Is that what we're talking about? We're shipping from there.
Yep.
Is that the biggest challenge you're talking about? Where are you going to find materials? Is it coordination of these materials? What's facing the industry?
I think his challenges are going to be, well, I guess they would blend, but his challenges are probably going to be a little bit different than what my perspective would be.
Talk to me then. I'd love to know both.
Yeah, I mean, I face challenges every day, right? They're always going to be on the human resources side, as we just talked about, right? Mm-hmm. The safety side is our number one priority, as we've discussed. You've got issues every day of finding supply and making sure I'm getting it to the end, right? Yeah. And our supply chain and logistics is a huge, huge issue for us. If we get it wrong, we really, really mess up. And we've messed it up in the past, right? We've had these problems,
we're not perfect,
right? But yeah, I would say the industry just in the state of Florida, right? It's going to be just in the state of Florida, the aggregates over the next 20 to 30 years. That's going to be a big problem for us if we can't figure that out as an industry as a whole. Yeah. I think the people that are going to keep moving here, I think building is going to continue to go. I mean, we're going to keep having folks come to Florida. You have low taxes, beautiful weather, and people want to get out of the north. They want to get out of the west, and it's just a place people want to be.
Yeah.
I think keeping up with the infrastructure to make sure we're doing that. And the state of Florida seems to be doing a really good job of that. The FDOT has sped up the I-4 construction. They've cut that down from, they want to do it from 20 years down to 10. So you're going to see another 10 years worth of work down there, but it's going to be much hastier than it should have been. And that'll get us moving in there. But yeah, I think keeping up with the number of people coming into the state of Florida, God, supply is going to be a problem.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, that's fine. I mean, but I like the fact that you've identified and the industry's identified the problem now.
Right.
If we're looking at aggregate 20 to 30 years in the future, we're identifying the problem now to come up with solutions.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah.
What do you see, though? What do you see on your side as the biggest challenge facing your industry now?
Well, there's no shortage of people moving to Florida. And, there hasn't been for quite some time. So providing what we want, the level of service that we want to provide for everybody without cutting anybody out.
Yeah, as you grow, I can. Okay.
One of those standards that you're talking about, right? I mean, so I'm assuming you're saying if somebody says I want a truck on the job every 5 minutes to dump out, if I'm servicing that job and I'm there every 8 to 10 minutes, I haven't met the standard that I set for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the kind of service you're talking about?
Right, and exactly, and to blend it with, say, a PCL construction to a Patrick Carr driveway repair guy. So everybody matters. I just threw that one out there. I didn't want to try to shame any kind of company. So I just made one up.
I didn't know he had a problem with his driveway. Man.
No, but I mean,
I'll give you my card. I'll give you a discount on some concrete.
I just think about that, like the things you have to juggle at Cemex. I mean, you're dealing with so many different levels of bureaucracy within companies, large guys, small guys. I mean, everything. Who you give your attention to, how you keep your word, the number of people down that list that just have to do everything the right way in order for you all to be successful as a group. It's incredible.
Well, from the small guy to the big guy, we did something pretty incredible about 25, 30 years ago. So the company recognized that we were treating the big contractors one way, and the mom and pop, the guy who needed his driveway or patio done, they couldn't get concrete because everybody else was busy. So they started a division called Kennedy Concrete. And so you'll see them throughout Central Florida. You'll see the Kennedy Concrete trucks. That's owned by Cemex.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
It's a great idea.
yeah, and it does nothing. It caters to nothing but pool builders, small custom home builders, and mom and pop stuff. Right.
That's right.
So
Backyard patios, things like that.
yeah, and they
Driveways.
They did
Right,
the driveways,
driveways.
and they did that because they wanted to provide a level of service. One, but two, if you couldn't get concrete, you're going to call somebody else, and we wanted to make sure we were keeping our customers happy and with it.
I mean, there's got to be a thought, and I'll end by saying this. There's got to be, at least somewhere in my mind, that homeowner may have a business that becomes the client of Cemex that otherwise wasn't before. But because they had a great experience with one of your companies at their home or at their pool, whatever it might be, they saw that truck there, that they become a client somewhere else.
Somewhere else. Right.
And it all kind of comes together here, the avalanche effect.
You never know who you're dealing with or who they know.
Yeah.
It could be something small that turns out to be something astronomical. I've seen
Chris,
it happen.
We need to get you home, man. Get some rest, brother. I mean, 3 o'clock in the
I got to take the warden out for dinner.
and I love what you all are doing, both at Cemex, you're doing with Construction Angels. You had to leave and abandon everybody with this promotion, but I'm sure they'll forgive you. But
Things got better.
I know. I mean, I get it. Gentlemen, I really enjoyed getting a chance to know you both.
Yeah,
all right?
it's great.
And we'll get some of those slides so we can include some pictures
Yeah.
and things about what's going on over at Cemex. And I look forward to seeing your trucks now. So
Can
I can
I
enjoy
ask
my
you a
girlfriend.
question?
Yeah.
Do you even lift, bro?
Man, I'll tell you, I am trying. They know, like, I am trying to keep my size right now. I used to be so much bigger than I am now.
Dude,
And
those
so
pipes are.
I'm trying to just
You,
keep
you
it
might
on
need
now,
a permit
man.
for those things.
Man, I
around here.
wish that was the case. Guys, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. See y'all
Thank you
next
very
time.
much.
See y'all next time.